you, Mr. Mayor. Feels good to be honest, doesn't it? Thank you.
Yeah, it says January 31st, 2024. For the record. Okay, public input number 2. Janice, did you want to follow up?
Well, I've already spoken about it. It's,
Okay.
Pardon me. I guess my main concern is, Mr. Mayor, that the food insecurity, pardon me, excuse me. That there is a stigma attached or cloaked in feelings of guilt and shame with respect to persons that require food from various sources. Participants have to navigate the feeling of guilt and shame, and it is inappropriate for gratitude to be held as a result of, I'm getting ahead of myself, I'm sorry, it's with respect to the feelings that people that have to have these food boxes and then find election material inside the box. It's not only inappropriate, it's against the Elections Act. And I do believe that if others wanted to, they could complain to the Chief Electoral Officer. An investigation would have to be launched. And whatever happens, happens. But in my opinion, I do believe it was just poor judgment and it would be appropriate for a written apology. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. Dan, go ahead.
Yes, on Councillor Fowler's report about the carbon issue going into town, nobody's going to drive to town to buy $30 worth of vegetables. And when they go into town, they will buy $300 or $400 worth of groceries or whatever it takes for their family to come back. So to use the carbon issue is a to me is a non-starter, because if you're going to go, you're not going to go just for that. If you're going to drive to town, you're going to do a proper shopping. You're not going to just pick up $20 or $30 worth of things. It's very inefficient. And people, they have found a way to buy all their other groceries one way or another. So just pulling vegetables, it's a nice idea. It's handy for people to get fresh vegetables every couple of weeks. But it's using the carbon issue, I don't think is appropriate, because it doesn't make sense. If they're going to go in, they're going to buy the milk, they're going to buy eggs, they're going to buy meat and cheese, and, and potatoes, and the whole thing. So just using the carbon cost in the carbon tax and the amount of carbon produced to go there to get $30 worth of vegetables, I think is sort of playing fast and loose with numbers. Nothing. It's an interesting thing that showing us what it costs to drive into town in a carbon footprint is a very interesting thing. But you use it for the whole groceries, not just for the vegetables.
Okay. So,
I have something.
go ahead, Mark.
Yeah. Seems like you've got the termination notice from Councillor Elliot. It's hard to understand how you didn't have this before, if it was filed before, and why you would file in the Supreme Court if this was on the record. Can you explain that, and why you'd waste taxpayers' money on taking this to the court? And now that you have received it here in council meeting, are you going to continue wasting taxpayers' money by taking this matter to the Supreme Court?
Well, again, I can't respond to it because it is before the court right now, so it's not appropriate for me to speak to a case that is in progress.
It is appropriate, Mr. Mayor, for the...
Point of privilege, Your Honor.
I'm sorry,
Mr. Mayor.
you can't dictate to me what I have to do based on our legal advice.
Well, I think Councillor Elliot is asking a point of privilege here. He's saying, I think he has a right to speak on this.
I'm sorry, no, this
This
public
has not been
input.
brought to court yet.
It hasn't been, he's right, it has not been brought to court yet. So is it your intention to take it to court? And use our money for this when it's already had the resignation?
I'm sorry, I can't speak to this at this point because it's before the courts.
It's not before the court.
Well, that's your opinion.
Well, I know.
Point
I've
of
seen
privilege,
file-
Mr. Mayor.
court filing.
That's always.
Point
No, I'm
of
sorry, I'm
privilege,
not
Mr.
allowing a
Mayor.
point of privilege on this. This is public input and it's for the public to make their input.
Well, I'm trying to make my input, Mr. Mayor, and you're not answering the question.
No, because I can't.
You can.
I'm sorry, you're not a lawyer.
You're choosing not to answer the question.
Is there any other
Point
public
of
input?
privilege, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry, I'm not allowing your point of privilege at this point.
As a councillor, whether it's public input or in the middle of a motion, a councillor has the right to speak. Point of privilege.
I'm sorry, I'm not allowing that. Motion to adjourn?
Well, you're deceiving the public by not telling them the truth again.
Move to adjourn at 11. Second, Northcott.
All those in favor?
Liz Northcott.
Elliot.
Joseph.
Davis. Okay. Thanks for everybody. Thanks to everybody.
Appreciate you coming.
Coming.
And your input.